Common Core is an increasingly controversial topic, and today we are going to explore more in depth about these standards. Common Core was developed from concerns that American students weren't being prepared enough for college and the workforce.
Common Core State Standards, or CCSS, was founded by the party's teachers, administrators, and content experts, and it is continued to this day by the government with support from the original parties.
A Nation at Risk and other evaluations of the American education system prompted for improvement. This included the development of state standards and assessments. The education system also needed a way to hold the schools and teachers accountable. These improvements were supported by many parties across the political platform, including business leaders, educators, and politicians. According to Sin Yun Ko, the National Governors Association, or NGA, called for the establishment of state-level education goals, reporting mechanisms, and stricter standards for teachers, students, and schools.
The idea of having standards and goals came from George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton's terms in office.
The George H.W. Bush administration sought to implement standards in testing in English, mathematics, history, geography, and science nationwide.
Common Core was introduced to the public in June 2009 as an idea that will benefit all students. Math and English standards were released in June 2010 to be implemented in the classroom.
Many people are under the impression that Common Core is a federal mandate. However, it is not. It is voluntary. As of late 2015, 41 states and the District of Columbia have adopted Common Core. According to Antonia Owens, 69% of principals agreed that the CCSS will have a positive effect on student learning in the long run. Moreover, more than 8 out of 10 teachers agreed that their colleagues and their principal were implementing the standards effectively. About 3/4 reported the same for their district leaders.
Common Core is in place to help students be successful in everyday life and society. Math standards are in place to help students be successful with reasoning and facts. State's grant funding was based off the performance from the Common Core. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation supported this and were big investors in the standards. According to the article, What Should Common Core Assessments Measure? Current assessments are poor indicators of teaching, but when mathematical literacy includes the ability to participate in mathematical practices, current assessments are poor indicators of learning. Standards suggest that there is a conceptual understanding and participation in mathematical practices, along with remembering facts and procedures. The authors of What Should Common Core Assessments Measure? Believe that the Common Core has a good basis, but needs to be changed due to new criteria. CCSS was a challenge when it was first implemented because there was not enough time or funding to introduce it properly to every school. In the journal article, Understanding and Implementing the Common Core Vocabulary Standards in Kindergarten, it states, determining the best way to address the CCSS on a daily basis is challenging and can be very time-consuming. To avoid stress concerning the CCSS, teachers can use resources provided or pre-made lessons found online. According to Van Tassel-Baska, writing in Common Core State Standards for Students with Gifts and Talents, for children of poverty, it is primarily the schools that must provide relevant opportunities to develop learners' domain-specific potential. Because every student has interest in at least one subject, this can help teachers engage the students in class. Teachers can find the students' interest based off their performance on school assignments and homework. Teachers should challenge the students in the subjects they hold interest. Students are intellectually, culturally, and cognitively diverse. Teachers will need to differentiate and make accommodations for all students. Also from Van Tassel-Baska's article, it says, although the CCSS purports to hold greater rigor, this does not translate to a one-size-fits-all set of standards. Students that have gifts or talents might not be as challenged as average ability students going off of the standards. Teachers with gifted students in the classrooms will have to accommodate. Lessons will need to be expanded so there is more material or a different way to learn while still mastering the grade level standard.
Common Core is important for many reasons. One reason is that no matter where you live, students will be held to the same expectations. Society is increasingly more mobile. With Common Core, students will not have to adjust to new learning expectations when they move to a new location. The standards are rigorous and demand that students at all levels are adequately prepared to enter careers in higher education. According to Susan Newman and Kathleen Roscoe, in a competitive global economy in which knowledge becomes information capital, students will need to compete for positions not only with their American peers, but also with students around the world. Common Core standards are designed to prepare students to succeed in a knowledge-based economy. CCSS defines what students should know and be able to do at each grade. They also support parents' role in learning that takes place outside of school. Parents can engage their children by building on what they are learning with quality experiences at home and in the community.
When it comes to the benefits of Common Core standards, the most talked about one is that across the nations the standards will remain the same. Author of Uncommonly Connected, Emily Hodge, says that with these standards, states can collaborate more easily due to common standards. As previously stated, this also is beneficial to the students who move around throughout their education so that they will be able to keep up and not fall behind in school. The supporters of these standards believe that they can bring consistency with both standards and assessment across the states. These standards wish to bring states that are otherwise so separated in their education together in hopes of improving this nation's education and the students' futures. Another benefit that I have had conversations about concerning CCSS is that it gives students multiple ways of solving a problem, allowing for students to find the one that best works for them. Depending on who one talks to, the list of pitfalls of the Common Core standards is extensive. However, the biggest one is that the standards enforce this idea that education, even English education, should be geared toward practical workforce development instead of nurturing in our students a love and desire to learn. Critics will emphasize that these standards are geared to have students go straight from school to the workforce, and that is what these standards focus on. Another critique against Common Core state standards is that it puts more stress on its students. I personally have observed students becoming increasingly discouraged from working on a math problem and not being allowed to use a strategy they understand, instead being forced to work with one that they don't. With the changing political parties in our government and the fate of the education standards being up in the air, it is hard to tell if the Common Core standards are here to stay or not.